to the Maximum Cash Flow presentation. My name is John Petterfidel, Executive Vice President with myEcon. I've actually been involved with the company for many years, and I retired at 34 years old and have put hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash flow in my pocket. So I'm going to talk to you today about myEcon, and I'm going to cover myEcon in 2 videos. But let's get some facts straight before we get started. Number one, 96% of the people in this country fail at retirement in this country. Now, I say that's a problem because this is the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and it is the most productive country in the history of the world. But many people are broke. Number two, we're trying to live on roughly 40% of what we were making in retirement and during our working years. Now, many people struggle during their working years on 100% of their income. Imagine trying to live on 40% of that. I would think that would be very difficult to do. But I'm going to get right into this presentation because it's very important that you get this information. So a little bit about myEcon. We're a fast-growing, debt-free, technology-driven company. We didn't borrow a dime from anyone to put this company together, and it cost us millions of dollars to put this company together as you see it. Number two, the veteran leadership team has over 100 years of experience at the top, so they have a track record of success. As a matter of fact, they've put over 500,000 people in business in their careers in direct sales, and they've generated about $750 million in revenues. So I would say that is a track record of success. But let's talk a little bit about personal financial success, because I've talked to roughly about 7,000 people about this, and most of them had little to no clue on what personal financial success even was. So let's make sure we're on the same page. See, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, lawyer, school teacher, whatever it is that you do, you're trying to do 2 things with your finances. Number one, you're trying to have income for today while you're working. And then number 2, you're trying to have income when you retire to replace the income from the income that you were working. So think about that. Many people struggle in this country with personal financial success. So think about this. Let's say a family is making a household income of roughly $100,000 a year. They would need about $1 million in assets or income-producing assets at retirement to replace that income. Or let's say the family makes about $50,000 a year. They would need roughly $500,000 in income-producing assets to replace that income. Well, many people had little to no clue that they needed these types of numbers in retirement, and this is why they struggle in retirement, because they never build enough income-producing assets. But myEcon actually has a solution for this. We got 3 pieces of the puzzle that help you get this done. Number one, we help you minimize the taxes that you have to pay. And number 2, we help you build what is called business income. And number 3, we help you do what is called asset accumulation. That's take some of your cash, buy assets that creates more what? Cash. So let's get started on the solution to the problem in myEcon. Number 1, minimizing taxes. First, let's understand some things about taxes. 80% of the people in this country have a tax refund coming back to them every year, which means they actually overpay their taxes. So what we first must do is stop overpaying. So not only are they losing 30% on average to taxes, they're overpaying the taxes. Let's talk about it. They have their withholding on the job filled out incorrectly. So the first thing we do is we stop a person from overpaying their taxes. Usually they pick up somewhere between $200 and $500 extra dollars per month. Imagine having an extra $500 back into your paycheck on the job, and you could take that money and use it for debt elimination. Or you could take it and use it for asset accumulation in your 401k. I would think those would be great choices for cash flow that come back into the house. Now, number 2, we help you do what is called home-based business tax deductions. See, the government will give you a tax subsidy or a deduction for going into business. And many people know little to nothing about this. And sometimes they struggle with this idea when I try to teach them about this concept. They say, well, does the government really want us to do this? Yes, the government will basically fund you or partially fund you being in business. Think about it. Anything that the government wants you to do, they actually give tax deductions for it. Now, think about it. In order to get people from renting to going into more home buying, what do? They give you a tax deduction for what? Mortgage interest. So you get a deduction that a renting person would not. The second scenario is maybe what about going green, okay? A lot of people want to go green. If you buy a vehicle that qualifies for a green vehicle, you get up to a $7,500 tax credit for buying the vehicle. So going into business, the government will actually partially cover some of the costs of operating and maintaining that business because that spurs the economy. So think about this. We're going to help you get about 7 common tax deductions of a home-based business. Think about these things, and you're already doing them right now. Driving your car. We're going to show you how to get a 56.5 cents per mile tax deduction every time you drive your car and use that car for business. I can show you how most of the time that you're in your vehicle, you can do this. Number 2, what about having a car note with interest? That can become tax deductible. Well, you already have a car note in most cases. Number 3, what about meals and entertainment? How often do you go out to eat? How often do you go out for entertainment? Would you like the government to pick up 50% of those expenses as a tax deduction? You can. Number 4, what about feeding, clothing, and taking care of your child? That can also become a tax deductible event. What about every time you travel? What about every time you pay your cell phone bill and your internet bill? You're probably already spending somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000 a year doing these things. And now they can become tax deductible if you join this business. So typically what happens is a person will pick up somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 per year in tax savings for these deductions. Imagine having an extra $5,000 per year in tax savings for the next 10 years. That will be $50,000 in tax savings that you can use for debt elimination, or you could use it for investing in your 401k. That would change your life tremendously. So that is part 1 of this video. Part 2, I'm going to conclude with the business income strategy and the asset accumulation strategy. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you on video number 2.